Now, we were just talking about how Eternals is opening today. It is Eternals Day. It is now opening around, and, it is still a positively reviewed. We talked yesterday on the show that Eternals might end up being the first negatively reviewed MCU movie. Now, as of right now, it's still over the 50% mark, 52, 53%, something like that. So it's still a positively reviewed movie. For now, we talked yesterday how it could become the first MCU movie to drop below that. But of course, the audience scores haven't come out yet. I'm very curious to see what the audience scores are. I don't know what they're going to be. Like I mentioned this yesterday, but when I came out of Shang-Chi, I was like, everybody's going to love this. I mean, obviously not everybody, but like everybody's going to love this. This movie's awesome. Can't wait for everybody to see it, right? I came out of Eternals being like, I really like it. But it's so different. I don't know how everybody else is going to respond. And we're certainly seeing that in the critic reviews, right? It's very divided, the critic reviews. And it's going to be really interesting to see. I can see Eternals getting a 90% audience rating. I could see Eternals getting a 60 or 55% audience rating. I mean, I won't be surprised about either. So it'll be interesting to see. But these questions have led us to another question. How will this affect the box office? With, the mixed reviews out there, is that going to hurt the box office when it comes to Eternals? And that's been a decent question. And we're going to find out more this weekend, but we've got our first little taste of numbers. The folks over at Variety are pointing out and are now reporting that the box office, Eternals has launched in a few territories already. And in those territories that it's now already opened, it's actually pacing ahead of both Black Widow and Shang-Chi. Now, let's take a look to see what the Variety article says here. They say, Marvel's Eternals has already touched down in several international markets, generating $7.6 million on opening day. The comic book adaptation starring Gemma Chan, who, she's awesome. I love her. I'm liking her more and more all the time. Richard Madden, Kumail Nanjiani, Salma Hayek, and Angelina Jolie debuts in North America and most major movie-going markets on Friday. Through the weekend, Eternals is expected to dominate over global box office charts with the projections of it bringing in $75 to $80 million. For the record, I actually think it's going to be a little bit lower than that. I actually think it's going to be a little bit lower than 75 to 80, but we'll see how it does. Anyway, it is projected at the global box office charts with projections of it bringing in 75 million to 80 million in the US and Canada with another 55 million overseas. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So far, mediocre reviews do not appear to be slowing down the latest installment of the Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe. Eternals had the strongest start in Korea with 2.6 million, followed by France with 1.6 million, Italy with 700,000, Viva Italia, by the way, Forza Italia, and Taiwan with 600,000. Disney estimates that Eternals is pacing, get this, 85% ahead of Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, which opened to 56 million internationally, 20% ahead of Black Widow, which opened to 78 million internationally at the same time in similar territories. Okay, so in the question that's been coming around about how will these mediocre reviews, very divided. Some people really like it, some people don't, a lot of people middling on it. I mean, who knows where this thing's going to end up? How will this thing affect the box office? Is this going to affect average film goers in their desire to go out and see it? I don't really think it will. Now, what will affect it is word of mouth. What will affect it is word of mouth. So we'll see that after the first weekend. Like once the audiences start to see it, if the audiences don't like it, that could have a real overwhelmingly negative effect on the box office moving forward. But I don't think it's going to have, I don't think the mediocre reviews are going to have a terrible impact on the opening weekend of this thing. Average film goers trust MCU movies. I think they're going to go out and give it a shot. Whether they're happy they gave it a shot or upset they gave it a shot, that's going to be yet to be seen. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But it is interesting to say that right now they're projecting it's pacing about 85% ahead internationally, not North American wise. And by the way, it's important to keep in mind that just because a movie is doing well in international markets, that does not equal a direct correlation to how well it's going to do in the North American market. We've seen a lot of movies where how it performs domestically versus internationally can be very, very different from each other. So just because they're saying it's pacing ahead of those other movies internationally and in some international markets, that does not necessarily mean it's going to do that once it starts opening up here tonight in North America. So just keep that in mind. But it's going to be interesting to see. And you know what? I think for fun, I'm going to ask you, we're going to make a poll here. For those of you watching live, how big will Eternals opening weekend box office be? And we're going to give you a couple of options. We're going to go 0 to 50 million, 51 million to 75 million, or 76 million plus. So I put that, for those of you watching live right now, in the live chat, you should see a poll pop up there. And I'm asking you guys, how big do you think Eternals opening weekend is going to be? I'm going to be interesting to see what you guys have to say about that. For those of you not watching live, what do you think about this? Right now, it's looking like, at least internationally, that the mediocre reviews are not having an impact on the business that Eternals is going to do. Will that be the same in North America? Maybe yes, maybe no. How big do you think it's going to open up this weekend? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.